Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 22 as always. And in today's video, we're doing some PC lobbies, this time around Zandvoort. And as you can tell by the title already, we've decided to try something a little bit different in one of our races. And this wasn't actually planned at all. I just thought, why not? In the spur of the moment, which you will see in a second. So you can see this is my Zandvoort setup, which I hadn't loaded on PC, so I had to copy it from my phone because I've already done it on PlayStation. And yeah, this race here was actually one of the most fun races I've actually had so far on F1 22 itself. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to be starting last, and thank you so much for these new extra rotation members as well, as you can see on top of the screen. Really appreciate it. And if you do join that, you will get priority access into these open lobbies as well. But as we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and as they go out now, you can see we just decided, you know what, we're going to pause the game and we are just going to try the cockpit cam. And I haven't changed any of the settings in the cockpit cam at all, so I'm sure you could probably improve them a bit more to see even more visibility. But I just thought, you know what, in the Assetto Corsa, I absolutely love driving in this view. A lot of people always tell me to drive in this, and always saying in the comments that why do esports drivers, why do competitive drivers not drive in cockpit cam? And honestly, I don't think it's because it would be much slower. You'll see at the end of this video as well. I think the main reason is that really the visibility, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage against other people who have the camera on TV pods or TV pod offset or outside the car. I don't think the speed would be much different. It's just your spatial awareness would just be significantly reduced, and I think that is the only reason why people do that. Because myself, in this race and whenever I've driven it in the past, it just feels so much more intense. The sense of speed is just insane, and this cockpit cam isn't the best in the world if you're going to compare it against iRacing or Assetto Corsa, but I would love to see it more often in these games. And I think the way to do that is to pretty much force it in F1 Esports, because I think that would be great to see, and I think that would basically all the competitive players would be using cockpit, and you might get 1 or 2 still using the TV pod on outside the car, but I think it would encourage and inspire a lot more people to actually use it itself. And in iRacing, I'm pretty sure in Assetto Corsa and the other sim games, I think you can change it outside from cockpit, I'm not too sure, but I know in the competitions itself, most of the time it is a requirement in itself. So yeah, I think if that was the case, we'd see more people doing it, as we get absolutely destroyed here, which I'm actually starting to think that bit of contact there was a glitch, because recently when I've overtaken people and they've been quite far behind me, I've had the same kind of feeling of contact when I get punted off like that a few seconds later. I don't know if that actually hitting me on my screen. It's something I have to look at a bit further, but please let me know what your thoughts are after the recent patches. But yeah, just driving in this straight away, it just felt just obviously more immersive because you're actually in the car. But yeah, like I always say in the Assetto Corsa videos, just the sense of speed and just the intensity and the satisfaction, it just feels like what you should be doing. And now myself, I know some people might say, well, why don't you just go ahead and use it? If I do that, then I'm just putting myself not really at a speed disadvantage, because I think it would take me a bit of time to get up to speed, but just your spatial awareness when you're racing people wheel to wheel, or your ability to see every inch of the track to maximise the track when going into corners, you're only putting yourself at disadvantage. There is no real advantages in performance-wise, in my opinion, when it comes to cockpit cam. So, again, it's always a preference. I think speed, there is no such thing as a faster camera view, but I think there are ones such as the TV pod and outside the car which are a bit more advantageous in terms of being able to race wheel to wheel with people itself. But again, please let me know what your thoughts are, and do you think F1 Esports should actually enforce this? Because I think that is probably one of the only ways where we're going to get to see people using this a lot more often, or if they actually force it and make it an option to be forced in lobbies, stuff like that as well. But again, I think the main tactic to do it is definitely to enforce it in esports, because all the competitive drivers, everyone would want to be the fastest they could in the cockpit cam. And in F1 Esports today, we don't have anyone driving that view currently. I think the last person who did drive that was actually Lucas Blakely, who's probably the fastest driver on the game right now. But even he switched from cockpit to TV pod, or TV pod offset, whichever one you want to call it, because he can just see more of the car itself. And he was, although he was still rapid, and I think he even won an esports race in the past, or I think it was a season opening race, a pro expedition race at Monaco, which I think I actually did that video on him. He won around there, but no, throughout the season, I think it was, when he was using it, it was more of a disadvantage than an advantage itself, which is why he has actually made the switch. So if we saw the roles reversed, where people, well, the esports drivers had to use it themselves, then I think that would be a great way to encourage other fast drivers and competitive drivers to do the same. Because in this, it was just a lot more fun. If I'm being honest, it just really felt like I was actually just much more immersed, just felt much more intense, and just a sense of speed, which is something we don't really get on the F1 games that much compared to other sims. You can actually feel like you are in the car a lot more. And I'll definitely be trying out VR in the cockpit cam in the future, because I think that's something that could actually add to it a little bit further. But yeah, just a sense of speed and the intensity, and just feels so much more satisfying to play, I think is the word to use, than being outside the car itself. And in this lobby, I definitely wasn't as fast as I would normally be if I was using my normal camera. But part of me just really didn't care, to be honest. And on this app here, you can see we're actually starting to get used to this view quite a bit more, and lap after lap I just started to feel more and more comfortable. And as I said, I haven't even changed these settings, so this is completely default settings for the cockpit cam right now. And coming across the line, we're actually going to improve. We're going to do a 13.1, so slowly but surely getting to grips with this. And now we're coming on to the end of lap 10. The guy in second place has pitted, and after those two little incidents we had, we're not actually that far away from the lead. And I think Joris F1 has he's already pitted, but he actually has a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit. So this lap will actually go box. Smalley has decided to actually stay out himself. And we've got the broadcast pit stop here because my pit stop button wasn't working. And again, if you want to be part of these hobbies, becoming a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber, and then joining my Discord, making sure that your account is connected to your Twitch or YouTube, will give you full access to my YouTube, where I do all my updated setups, priority invites to lobbies such as this, and currently a 30% discount on a one-to-one coaching session with me, which I have a lot more availability in September because I'm away from next week just for a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone who's been doing that, and hopefully you have been finding it beneficial for you as well. But as we come out of the pits on the softs now, we're just going to warm up our tyres, and at the end of this lap, starting to catch Benassi just a little bit. and let's see what we can do here. So we're not going to be pushing absolutely flat out as he does a 13.1, because we want to maybe just save a bit of ERS for the end of the race, just in case we do need it. And yeah, the more I was driving this, just the more enjoyable it actually become. And yeah, it's just a great shame. I think definitely for F1 Esports, real F1 drivers, they have no choice but to be in the cockpit. I think it might be nice if F1 Esports kind of did the same as well, and that would really encourage the rest of the community to be using it more often. But yeah, on this up here, just taking it pretty nicely, not using too much ERS. Managed to get the DRS from this ghost car here, and you can see we're actually closing in, and our pace was actually getting better and better throughout this race all the time. And because of this setting I have with the cockpit here, I think I could raise it a bit so I could see the apexes more. Got the halo activated as well, and yeah, it was pretty hard to see the apexes, but it just feels so much more of an achievement when you actually hook it up right, as we actually do a 12.1, so a pretty nice lap in the end, as Tiger has made a bit of a mistake. So as we skip onto lap 15, start of 16, you see we're actually closing quite a bit. We've actually got within the 5 seconds of Euros F1 here now, and Smalley is now the race leader, as we do still have the fastest lap of the race. So I'm going to try and get within the DRS zone of Benassi up ahead, and if we could recover to P2, I would have been very, very happy just jumping straight in this without ever using it before in this game. And yeah, it was just definitely just a very satisfying experience, and definitely just made the race a lot more enjoyable than probably would have been if we just used our normal view. But actually, Smalley has actually made a bit of a mistake, so all of a sudden this race has actually come back to us quite nicely. Are we going to get a DRS? Yes, we are, because we get that little beep in our ear. And really, if we could be Benassi in P2, then we're actually going to win this race. So somehow we've actually managed to keep within the race itself, and I think we've managed our ERS quite nicely, as well as Benassi's actually made a bit of a mistake. So we're going to get the DRS again, and I think his red light is flashing, which you can see. Both of their red lights are actually flashing here. So if we could get a good run, we could have actually quite a good opportunity to win this race. You can see again, both their red lights are flashing. We have quite a bit of ERS, but no, this is the difficulty with the spatial awareness. When you're right behind someone, it makes you respect the F1 drivers definitely a lot more, because their visibility must be, when they're going at that speed and they're actually suffering the G-forces as well, really does actually make you appreciate that it's a human being driving these cars itself. But coming through here now, if I can just get past Benassi before the end of this lap, to actually make a bit of contact here. So on the exit here, we're going to be using our ERS, so we're going to go side by side, but this is the moment where it proves cockpit cam is going to be a bit difficult. So coming into here, we're going into this and make a bit of contact, and I would say that's definitely my fault, but that is the reason why people don't use cockpit cam, because it's just so much harder to see exactly how far away you are from the other cars. And I think until it's forced in F1 Esports, you won't be seeing people use this, and it's a great shame. And I really do people would use it more, because although we're about to still get on the podium anyway, it was just one of the most fun I've actually had in the lobbies in a long time. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think it should be encouraged much more? I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the support on the channel, and I'll be catching you very soon. Peace.